So with further no delay, let us introduce our today's very, very special guest. I take immense joy introducing her today. She is very, very special to every one of us. She is none other than Dena Merriam Madam, who has been into Kriya Yoga meditation for a very long time, and she got touch with her Guru Yogananda Parahamsaji, and she has been through her all past lives and understand the karmic lives, how karmic cycles impact our life, and understanding her interaction with Mata Sita and Rukmini. And she has started a global peace initiative for women in 2002. She has worked to bring spiritual voices to address the global challenges that everyone going through now. She has spoken in many forums on the need for shift in the consciousness to address the challenges humanity is going on every aspect of life. With great joy, I would like to welcome Dena Merriam Madam for our DMC program, Dhyana Mahala Chakram. It's a great honor to have you here.
Namaste. It's a great honor for me to be with you during this time of meditation. You're a very special family to me.
Thank you, Madam. And we would like to hear from you today about the Dhyana Mahala Chakram, that this is mostly for women, should like enlighten and awaken themselves. We wanted to hear your brief message on that, and we'll go into interactive session with everyone. They can interact with you and ask their questions.
Well, this has been a wonderful week for me because I've been narrating the untold story of Sita for a audiobook. And I haven't read the book in a few years because I've been busy with writing other books. So I'm back in Sita Loka and feeling again very much the presence of Ram and Sita. And as I was just this week was narrating the part about the Great War and Ravana, and it was like describing our modern era, because we were talking about, she was talking about in the book, climate change, droughts, the draining of rivers, assaults on women. I mean, we could have been describing today. And as I was reciting it, I thought to myself, this is a story. This is a story that in every era we have to undergo the battling of a dharma. And then the part that I just was narrating yesterday was about how the women of Ayodhya went down to the river in the morning praying for Sita, and how that created a protective shield around her. So I came home and I thought to myself, so what's the message for us today? We see a lot of instability in the world today. I mean, instead of one Ravana, it's like we have many in different parts of the world. We have climate change. We have warnings about all kinds of climate instability. So we all need to go down to the river and chant and meditate. Now, as I'm back in the story of Sita, I've also started a new book. I've just finished a book, actually, which takes place in 12th century Tibet and then 13th century India. It covers 3 lives. So I finished that book, but I started a new book, which is a big challenge for me, and it's called Memories of a Future Life, and it projects 200 years into the future. So as we know, we are creating our future. So let's create a positive future. We all are part of creating what's going to unfold. So we most often do it passively by reacting to things that come to us, but we can do it creatively, actually, we are creating the future. We have control over it. And so this has been a really, I mean, I have to go deep, 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 deep inside to be able to pull out the story. I see my own future, but to see the collective future is a bigger challenge because there's so many variables. But again, it's all of us, and it's not just the women this time. It's all of us going down to the river. And what I see happening, actually, which is why your movement is so important, is as I'm writing the story, I see that at a certain moment, there's going to be a lot of disruption over climate change. But then the meditation movement will become large enough that it can ameliorate some of the more dramatic changes that could occur, but that may not, because the meditation movement becomes large enough to have an impact, to be able to change the course of outer events. That's a possibility that awaits us. It could be 30 years, it could be 50 years. The timing is always difficult to tell. But I do believe that the influx of great masters in the last 200 years was for that very purpose, to help create a large enough meditation movement that we can quicken human evolution, because human evolution is needed in order to bring a little more wisdom to our actions. I mean, we have incredible technology that's coming very fast, but our intelligence is not developing at the speed needed to control this technology or to use it wisely. And so what's the answer to that? It's to grow the meditation movement. And that's where we are now. And there is that very real possibility that we'll be able to do that.
That's amazing. And especially being in that Sita Loka, I could understand how deep and profound it will be. I read that book and I was immersed in that love of Sita. And also when I read the Rukmini book, it is the same feeling. I was in that ball of the love for the whole period of book I was reading and after the book. And thank you for bringing those books into everybody's life and transforming millions of people.
To me, the Rukmini book is a continuation of Sita's story, because just like we continue, I mean, it's one unending journey with chapter after chapter. Each life is like a different chapter. Sita and Ram, they don't incarnate very often, except they could appear in a human body, and they do appear in human bodies at various moments, and we may not recognize them. So in the story that I'm writing about the future, again, Ram and Sita are very, very much present, not in incarnate form, but assuming bodies when need be to give a certain message to a devotee. And in this book that I've just finished, which is called The Dance with Dakinis, In Search of Self, there's a lot about Shiva in it, because it's my first encounter with Lord Shiva. And this book that I've just started, Memories of a Future Life, and this took me completely by surprise. I've come into a relationship with Ganesh, and for the first time, I've not known Ganesh until writing this book. And so it's like one by one, I'm experiencing the different devas and devis who come for different purposes and to help us at different moments in our long journey. And so we see all the different aspects of the great divine consciousness appearing in different forms, beloved forms. There's so many forms, just like we have so many forms. And in the book I've just finished, it's like, we have so many names, we have so many faces, we have so many forms. And it's beautiful to recount them all, just like we count all the different forms of the divine. But in the end, we're without form.
Oh yeah, we are. I'm very curious to know like what is going to be like your feature, like you with Ganesh and other thing. Before that, I would like to ask a question. When I was reading the Rukmini book, especially the Satya and Usha episode, it was touched me like anything. And in Satya asked like we need to balance the love and the knowledge. Usha, you have so much love. Now you need the knowledge. Can you please elaborate that for us and how we should get the love and knowledge into evolve into the next generation, like how we are going in the future? What how to balance both?
That's really you put your finger on the essence of the question. That has been a long search for me. In the book that I've just started, Memories of a Future Life, the subtitle is Becoming Love. Because in my long journey, it's the journey toward a higher state of love, which is a balance between the wisdom and because love is not an emotion. Very often we live at the emotional level with love. And when we think of human love, it really is an emotion, and love is, it's hard to put into words what that higher state of love is. But it's it's like Durga and Kali express an aspect of love. And in that love, there's a ferocity to it. And in the book that I've just finished on Tibet, there's also a lot about that ferocity, which has to transform all the negative energies, the negative emotions, which manifest externally as demonic forms, internally as anger or fear or envy or greed. And how do we transform those into beneficial emotions? There has to be a certain fierce love that is needed in order to transform those negative energies. And so that was my learning in the book I've just finished, is taking love to that level and not just seeing it as a happy feeling, but it's coming to the realization of how to maintain the balance in the universe, how to restore dharma, and it can only be restored through love. I mean, the negative energies can only be transformed through love, but there's an intensity to that love, and there's no self-interest. Perhaps that's the key, is that there's no self-interest. In human love, we have expectations. We need a certain give and take. And if our expectations are not met, we have disappointment. We have needs that have to be fulfilled. And if in a human love, if those needs are not fulfilled, then the relationship is damaged. And so how to move into a higher state where there's no expectation, there's no needing anything, there's no wanting anything, there's a pure outpouring for the benefit of the whole, a pure giving with no self-interest at all. And that takes wisdom, because you have to see yourself beyond your human personality. You have to see yourself beyond your limited life and your limited needs. You have to be established in the higher self in order to be able to manifest that quality of love. And so the subtitle of the book I finished, In Search of Self, is how to reach that state. It's that takes many lifetimes of practice, spiritual practice, to be able to establish yourself in the higher self. And we're all on that journey, but we can become aware in our lives of when we're slipping down, when we're having expectations, when we're wanting our needs met. And it's a subtle balance, because yes, we are human and we do have needs. But those of us who are on this path want to be of service, pure service to humanity. And so we want to incarnate. I mean, there comes a point when you take birth, not to fulfill your samskara, not to fulfill your karma, not by karmic need, but purely out of service, purely to help advance creation, help advance the human species. To get to that point, so we may choose to take birth, but we're choosing to take birth not for our own purposes, but for the greater good. That's the journey we're on. That's the journey we're all on. And so each life presents us with a different set of circumstances to perfect that. For others, they have needs and they want to satisfy their desires, and there's nothing, yes, you want to achieve a certain ambition, you want to have wealth, you want to have a happy family, but there comes a point when we've had all of that. We've experienced everything that human life has to offer us. We've had happy marriages, happy family, happy children, unhappy ones. And so you've had it all. So what's the next stage for us? It's to move beyond that so you mentioned Satya. When I first became aware of Satya, which was in 2008, actually, when I was organizing a big conference in India on the Divine Mother, and I was overwhelmed with how I was going to do this. I was still new to this work. And then I saw this being who was helping me from this other dimension. But then when I wrote my first book, I became aware of my relationship with him. He wasn't just another being coming, there was a relationship there. And then with each book, he becomes more and more of a presence. And then when I was writing the Rukmini book, I found my past with him. I found where actually, it was When the Bright Moon Rises that I first remembered an encounter with him long ago in the Vedic age. And then when I wrote the Rukmini book, I encountered a life with him, which sort of cemented the relationship that continues to this day. And as I write about, as I continue to write, because I'm evolving like all of us, and each book is transformative for me. I'm deeply, deeply transformed by my writing. It's my sadhana right now. This is the teaching, because I received the teaching anew. When I talk about those lives, I didn't understand in the way that I understand today, the teachings that were given. Now, when I write about them, they have a much deeper meaning for me. And my interest is in writing more about the celestial worlds, because we're deeply intertwined. We all have relationships with beings in those other dimensions, because we incarnate at different times. Beings that are important to us may still be in those other dimensions. We narrow our consciousness when we take a human birth, so as not to confuse ourselves, and so to continue this play. If an actor were to remember all the parts that he played, he wouldn't be able to do his very best in that one role. So an actor has to put aside all the other roles that he's played and just concentrate on that one role that he's performing. It's the same with us. We have to put aside everything else and concentrate on the one role we're playing, until at a certain point, we can't do that anymore. Because everything has led up to this point. Not just all our earth lives, all our experiences everywhere. And the dimension that I talk about with Satya is very real to me. I feel his presence daily. And there's a constant, because I could not do the work I do without him. He is my opening into that world. He relays to me many of the teachings that come to me. And I hope to write more about that in the future. I never know what comes next. When I finished Rukmini book, I didn't know what was coming next. And suddenly this whole series of memories come about this time in Tibet, which is very important to me, because Tibet and India, for those of you who will read the book, there's a very ancient and deep, deep link. Many of the deities are said to be emanations of our deities. And so there's a very, very deep link there. And the fact that India is home now to the Tibetans in exile has great significance as well. So there's a lot more to be said about that. But then when I finished that book, I didn't know what was coming next. I've seen my future, but I haven't seen the collective future until I started writing this. And I said to myself, we are creators. We are creators. we have to go about and begin to vision what lies ahead for us, for the human community. That's our role as creators, to create it. So let's not let others create the future for us. Let's get together and create it.
Yes, we will get together and create a wonderful and joyful and a future with full of love, just flow. Thank you, ma'am, for giving so much information.